In previous video, I asked artificial intelligence GPT about does it create function, create component, does it closure, and here is all discussion about that. We need the code of create component and code of read component, and during communication I jump in concretely code. Okay, let's go to communication with artificial intelligence. I read this child component create add new post equal handle add new post is also closures of read functional component here, and I copy here complete read component code, and here is create that it is a read component, and here is a child of read component. Because all that is functional, it is function, read is function, create is function, and create is here in this situation is closure. I state here is closure of read, and replay of GPT is the create component is not closure of the read functional component. It is simply another React component that is being rendered within the read component using JSX syntax. The add new post function is passed as a prop to the create component, which can then call that function when it needs to add a new post to the post state array in the read component. The add new post function is passed as a prop, okay, to the create component, which can then call that function when it needs to add new posts to the post state array in the read component. Call, it is calling, it means that create add a new post will call function handle add new post. Add new post will call when would have all post, all new post would call handle a new post from read. Let's go. Closure are created when function accesses variable outside of its own scope, and those variables remain accessible even after the outer function has returned. There are no closures being created in this code. Me again. Closures are created when function accesses variables outside of its own scope. The component create is function inside of read function and access variable posts that is outside of create inside of read function. You are correct that the create component is defined inside the read function and therefore has access to the post state variable declared in read function. However, this does not create a closure because create is not a function that is returned by read. In JavaScript, closures are created when an inner function accesses variables declared in an outer function, and the inner function is returned from the outer function. It is important, from the outer function, or passed to another function as callback. Very important. And the inner function retains reference to the outer functions. The inner function retains reference to the outer functions, variables, even after the outer function has returned. Very important. In this case, I said you why. In this case, create is a React component, not a function that is returned from a read. And it does not get passed to any other function as callback. Therefore, it does not create a closure over the post variable. I understand you explain thanks to this example. Here is an example from here. Here is what is closure. A closure is a combination of functions bonded together and closed with references to its surrounding state, the lexical environment. In other words, a closure gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. In JavaScript, closures are created every time a function is created at function creation type. But this is important. In other words, a closure gives you access to an outer function's scope from inner function access. But here is example. Function init. Inside function init is function display. In function init there is a variable name. A function display have access to that name, to that variable name. But we can execute this inside function only by executing init, executing outer. Here it is. Init creates a local variable called name and the function called display name. The display name function is an inner function that is defined inside init and is available only within the body of the init function. It is available only within the body of the init function. But our create component is not available only within the body of the init function. Our create component is self-state module with input, output, and self-contained React component would have own state, own props, and have props. Okay, our create component is not available only within the body of init function. Note that the display name function has no local variable of its own. However, since inner function have access to the variable of outer function, display name can access the variable name declared in the parent function. This is important that that available is available only within the body of the init function. It is not case with our create React components. It is important for all React is construct on this structure of child component and parents component, child component, and components is function, and this is important for me make clear what happened here. And let's continue discussion. I understand your explanation takes to this example, the function, and this explanation, the display name function is an inner function that is defined inside init and is available only within the body of the init function. It is same to text. However, this does not create a closure, because create is not a function that is returned by read. It is that is returned by read. It is same as is inner function that is defined inside init and is available only within the body of the. It means only init function can return display name. Here is also only outside function can return inside function, but it is not case here with create, because create is not a function that is returned by read. Okay? Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. In the init example, you provided the display name is an inner function that is defined inside init, and it has access to the name variable declared in init. Because display name is returned from init, it is returned from init. In our case, create function is not returned by read function. Is returned from init, it forms a closure over the name variable. They both read, init and display name together create closure around variable name. It is closure, and closure is not closed function, but closure is two function what close the variable name here, and init and the display name together are closure around name. Take care here. A closure is the combination of function bundled together. Yeah. But closure is not function, but combination of function. And it is important because my question is because I think that closure is inside function. No, closure is not inside function, but closure is combination of function bundled together enclosed together with references to its surrounding state. Its is plural. It is both of them surrounding state. References to its surrounding state, the lexical environment. In other words, closure gives you access to an outer function scope from an inner function. It is closure. It is closure. In JavaScript, closure is created every time a function is created at function creation time. And now I look at differently on closure. For closure must be two functions, and closure is possibility of some programs here. In this case, it is JavaScript program. It is a possibility of JavaScript program, and possibility that two function closure is the combination of a function, two functions bundled together, enclosed, and that enclosed with references to its surrounding state. Its surrounding state, it is also confused, because surrounding state, I see inner function have surrounding state. Its surrounding state. Surrounding, by word surrounding, I think outside, around, surrounding around me, around inner function. But it is not. Surrounding here is location where is a variable name. It is and okay, closure is for closure we need two function, and closure is possibility JavaScript or other programs when two function create two function, one is outer, other is inside, and that inside function have access to variable declare in outside function, and that inner function can be returned only by outer function. Outer function must be returned and for activate that closure. Activate that closure, and after returning outer function, inner function have access to variable name. Here is execution. No, okay, never mind here. Back to our discussion. It forms a closure over the name variable, which means that even after init has finished executing, display name can still access and use the value of name. In the case of the create component, in the original code, it is defined inside the read, it is defined inside the read function and has access to post state variable declared in read. However, since create is not returned from read and is not passed to any other function as callback, it is also important that callback function is always a call, is always a return by outer function, and callback is only can be returned, can be called from an outside function, and is not passed to any other function as callback. It does not form a closure over post. Does it mean that create is closure partially when can access state variable post in lexical environment, but is not closure 100% because it is a self-state React component module with own input and output? With this knowledge now, I will not ask it, but I ask you ask what you want, and sometimes and any question can give you something new. No, it's not accurate to say that create is a closure partial. In fact, create is not a closure at all, because it is not a function that defined inside another function. Absolutely. In this question, I think of create as closure inside because its create is inside of read, but we need outside and inside function that surround some variable, and that inside function can be returned only by outside function. Instead, create is a self-contained React component that has its own state and props, and it can access the handle add new post function that is passed to it as a prop. However, since create does not access any variable declared in the read function, it does not form closure over any external variables. So while create can access the handle add new post function that is defined in the lexical environment of read, it is not a closure because it does not have access to any other variables in that lexical environment. And now I resume some summary for myself. The create component is child of read component, closed, but not closure, because of data flow management in React waterfall. State variable posts we can mutate only where is declare read component. Because of that function, handle add new post must be in a read component. That function handle add new post, there is a parameter new post. The is res data in create component. That parameter is in create component. Because of that function, handle add new post must go to create as props, take parameter new post and execute in create here add a new post res data, but add new post res parameter res data equal handle add new post res data. It means that even though execute in create, it is function of the read, as that can only this function mutate variable state post. Yes, that's correct. And here is the end of our discussion. I am correct. Step by step, coming to some conclusion what is correct. Yes, that's correct. The create component can access the state variable post via the add new post function that is passed down as prop from the read component. However, the add new post function is not a closure because it does not directly access any variables outside of its own scope. Instead, it relies on the handle add new post function that is defined in the read component and passed down as prop. This function has access to the post state variable and is responsible for updating it. Therefore, the data flow management in React ensures that the state variable is mutated only where it is declared, which is in the read component. Handle add new post is in read component. Okay, I was concentrate. Working a lot of in React example. I read, I communicate with artificial intelligence. This is example excellent for learning. You see how through this discussion that artificial intelligence here is like somebody what I want to discuss something. We want to discuss with someone to discuss concretely what I learn and what that person know from before or also learn that. And together we talk about very, very specific detail, but important for understand. It is not, it is big, closure is something big. And I spoke my idea that component can be closure, and you see how that communication go and how we find how I clear my minding about React component, about closure, and about data flow, management of data flow. As me, you also must concentrate, understand the script, concentrate on this discussion, and only like that is possible to learn. Learn is to be interested in exploration, in research, development, research. You must understand, and that we something understand, we must learn, we must read about that, we must discuss. Here is artificial, we can discuss with the artificial intelligence. To me, help a lot. It is sometimes it's difficult to find a person what is in a movie as you, and complete understand that details, that problems. Okay, this discussion with artificial intelligence is some kind what we have today possibility, and why compare it with other? Every communication and every tools there is some plus and minus, and every of us know what we like in our learning process of learning, but together for common for all of us is understanding programming, understanding script, and only understanding script we can like that programs, that tools, and we like work with that tools, and research, explore, and develop, have improvement, personal improvement in that tools. If you know somebody that need a video like this, tell them about, like if you like, subscribe if you interested, comment, engage. Engagement of you means growing of community around this video, and growing community means growing our knowledge, individual knowledge in that community. Learn, practice, learn, read, and read, and again read, and again practice and practice. Here is, you have not frustration through typing code. Here you look at in code. You look at in code, in concrete example, and learn theory. That programs, you clone that program, programs work in your computer, and after that you won't understand what I talk, look at that script, understand and understand and understand. And there is no problem that your coding don't work. And take your attention in other direction and frustration. No, you have all code, you have application what work in your computer, and your job is only understand coding. When you understand coding, it's not problem. Code same application, at first same application, after that modification, and script your idea, coding your idea, and you know now when you understand how all that function, how all that construction functionate. Thank you for watching this video.